Hi there, this is Ryan Sarks. I'm with the Cherokee Beekeepers Club, and basically I'm just going to go over these hives real quick. Installed packages about 4 days ago. It's time to release the queens, and the reason that I wait 4 days, I just think that I get a little bit better acceptance. A lot of beekeepers only wait 3 days, but in order to wait the full 4 days, I choose to wrap my cages in electrical tape, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's just a standard roll of electrical tape, and this is kind of what a cage looks like after it's been wrapped. This is an old cage, by the way. I just do a couple wraps around the edges. It keeps the bees from actually getting to the cork and candy so that they can't possibly eat her out too early and release her. If she gets out too early, a lot of times the bees will kill her until they get used to her pheromones and accept her as the mother of the hive. And so I wrap mine. I go in, I can choose when to release her, and I usually do that on the 4th day. So let's go ahead and get into the hive, and we'll go from there. So here are the two hives that I actually installed the packages in. These hives are, existing hives. I usually store my supers on the hives. Some people choose not to do that, but I always have. I had good luck with it. It keeps the wax moths and stuff out of it, as far as my luck. I do have some old external tops leaned up against the hives, and that's just basically to teach the bees to redirect their flight. As you can see, they're coming in and out at the edge here. It's about 55 degrees today. Barely warm enough for me to get in here. I don't like going in the hives if it's below 55, but I do need to release these queens. It's now the 4th day, and we're going to get in the hive and take a look at it. Okay, so we're in the hive now. This is the package of bees that I installed about 4 days ago, and they seem to be doing fine. I'm going to give them a little bit of smoke. Tell them to go on down in there. Hopefully they'll comply. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and go through these, make sure they got enough sugar syrup. This package was installed on existing foundation that was drawn. If you are installing your package on foundation, bare foundation that has not been drawn out, you will want to make sure that you have at least at least 3 or 4 good fist size of comb drawn out on the foundation in order to release your queen. If you don't have that much comb, like I said, at least 3 to 4 fist size of comb drawn out, you need to leave her caged a little bit longer and push the sugar syrup, the 1-to-1 sugar syrup, to them so that they'll draw a little bit more foundation out. So she'll have room to lay her eggs. They'll have room to put in some syrup, some stored syrup, and some pollen. The syrup is the carbohydrates, and the pollen is their protein. So as you can see here, the bees are looking pretty healthy. They have brought in some pollen. You can kind of see it down in those cells. What we're going to be looking for is any queen cups, queen cells that they might have drawn out, and cut those out before we release the queen. Okay, so now I've pulled the queen cage that I had between these two frames out. And of course they're all around her trying to protect her from me. They smell her pheromone in that cage and they're ready for her to get out. So basically we need to take this. It's kind of hard for me to videotape and do this, so I'm gonna pause and I'll be right back. So here she is. I've taken my hive tool and kind of gently raked the bees off. She's very lively inside the cage. The candy's still intact. And they feed her through the cage. As long as you have installed that cage correctly to where the bees can access the wire, they feed her while she's in that cage. Now what I'm going to do here is pop one side of the staples loose, and then hold that hardware cloth against there. And I'm going to put it down right over the top of 2 of these frames here, and I'm going to let her crawl down into there. So I'll see if I can do this and keep the video footage rolling for you. I'm going to put it between my legs. Alright, so got a few bees here, rake them off. They smell that pheromone. Okay, so I usually use the sharp end of my tool, kind of work that staple out and then pull it out. And I'll lay it to the side because a lot of times I'll reuse my cages. They come in very handy if you ever have some virgin queens you need to recage, or if you're transferring bees back and forth, you can recage and let them get introduced back to her. So she's pretty excitable. So what I do is I tint this hardware cloth. I hold it at the top and I open it at the bottom, and then she crawls in. Now the reason for hopefully you saw that, but the reason I do that, see, she's already down in there. These are just workers that came up in here. She crawled right down into here. But the reason I do that, get those workers out of there. Reason I do that is I basically just want to ensure that she goes down in there and doesn't fly off. If you don't tint that cage at the top, a lot of times the queen will, be nervous and she'll fly off, and there goes $30 worth of a queen. So you got to repurchase. The white powder you see here, I've put some probiotics in here the last time, and I had a beetle barn at the top that was covering that. So I'm going to add a few more probiotics. This hive does need a little bit of sugar syrup, so I'm going to put some 1-to-1 sugar syrup in here, give them something to eat. They've got their queen. She's going to start laying, and basically we're good to go, and I'll check them in a few more days. Alright, now we're in the second one that I was showing you. This is the activity at the top right when I opened it. Like I said, it's right about 55 degrees. Sorry, the sunlight is on the wrong side for a video. Give them a few puffs of smoke, not too much. Don't want to chase them off. And we're going to get in there and check out how much syrup they've got, how much pollen they might have brought in, and let's go ahead and release that queen. So I'll be right back. So as you can see, the majority of the cluster is clustered around where the queen is. Let's see if I can show you down in here. Now, one other tip I have for installing a package is, as you can see down there in the bottom, I do put a queen excluder on the bottom and when I install a new package, and I do not remove that for until the queen gets laying well, and then you can choose to leave them under there. By leaving them all season, it can cause additional problems, but it can prevent swarming if you have a hive that's prone to swarm. It's highly unrecommended unless you have extensive experience in beekeeping, but usually I'll remove those queen excluders once the queen lays a pretty good sized pattern on several frames, and then they're not going to leave home. As long as they've got eggs, larvae, brood, and food, they usually stay home. So just another tip. We're going to go ahead and get this queen released, and we'll be right back. So I've gone through all the frames, make sure there's no queen cups or cells, so that we have a good acceptance of the queen. So I'm going to go ahead and lightly rake off these bees. And no, unless you mash one, you're not going to get stung. They're very gentle, unless you're ungentle with them. One other thing, the queen excluder on the bottom of the hive just keeps your $100, $120, how much you paid for your package and queen, from vacating before she has a pattern large enough for them to consider it home. A lot of times beekeepers will install a package, release the queen too soon, before she has the foundation drawn out in those 3 or 4 fist sizes, and they'll vacate the hive and you've lost your investment. So it's a little bit of an insurance policy until she gets enough eggs and and larvae in the hive. So I'm going to go ahead and see. She seems to be doing fine down in there. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going to go ahead and loosen this staple here. Alright, girls. Alright, and work that loose. Lay it to the side. And again, I want to remind you, the best way to do this is to tint this hardware cloth, because she's going to want out of there. She's not as active as the other one. But I tint it at the top, open it at the bottom, tap it maybe a few times, and see, hopefully she'll walk on down in there. Come on, girl. Get on out of there. Go on. Okay, so there she went. There is some workers in here, but she did go on down in there into the frames. As you can see here right now, these are just workers that smell those pheromones, and it gets them excited. So I'm just going to shake them out of there, replace my staple, and probably recycle this cage later on if I ever need to reintroduce a queen or transfer something over. So there you have it, folks. That's how you check a hive. You want to go in, on a new package installation with drawn comb, and make sure they haven't laid any queen cells, queen cups, and cut those out just so that you get a good acceptance. You want to go in, make sure they've got enough syrup stored so that they have enough to eat. These are not starving, but I am going to add a little bit of syrup, probably at least a half a gallon per colony. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to contact Ask Professor B at CherokeeBeeClub.com, or give BJ or Ryan Sarks or one of the club members a call. That's what we're here for, folks, is networking and making sure that you understand how to do beekeeping properly. Hope you have a great day. God bless.